Hi, I'm Dr. Jason J. Campbell, and I want to thank you for taking the time to watch my videos. In this video, I'm continuing my analysis into Nietzsche's Will to Power, and this video comes as the first video after sort of this participation between myself, Love 83 Forever, and Secular Numinous. I want to thank Love 83 Forever, and I want to thank Secular Numinous for contributing to the call for videos, and I think that their assessments were key contributions to the ongoing discussion. It wasn't so much just to highlight what they said that was of any importance to me. What was important was for me to actually get an alternative method of interpretation, of textual interpretation from different people. Philosophy really is, you know, hardcore philosophers will probably hate this, but philosophers are, and I'm hardcore. But philosophy is best done at the dinner table. It's best done over, a glass of wine. It's best done with friends. You sit around, you have a conversation on what the meaning of life is. That's what philosophy really is about. So I needed to get some of that feedback, because in my day-to-day life, I don't entertain philosophical discussions with people. So it was good to hear both Secular Numinous and Love 83 Forever's take on Nietzsche. And I think specifically what I found in both of their assessments that I'm going to actually incorporate into today's lecture was the notion of the good man or the rich man. Right? They both talked about the function of the good man. They both talked about the function of the rich man. And the question for me isn't so much what does it mean by being a good man, because we know what it means to be a good man. According to Nietzsche, the good man is subservient, the good man is obedient, the good man conforms his desires to the imperatives of the moral standard. We know that. The question becomes, what are the implications of good men? Right? What are the implications of this societal approach to sort of conformity, to this societal approach to a shared sense of oneness, if you will? And what I really like about what Secular Numinous did, because he didn't talk about it specifically, he being Nietzsche, was that he sort of hinted to not only the difficulties that arise for Nietzsche with regard to individuals' conformity, subservience to religious dogma, but now to political and sociological dogma, right? This notion of egalitarianism, the problems that might arise from that. I thought Secular Numinous's point on that was right on the money. I thought it was very good. I thought it was very insightful. What I liked about it was it wasn't something that he got explicitly from the text, but based on his read, he was able to distill those notions, and I thought it was good. We're going to pick up on that today because we're going to end up talking about sort of the influence of individual good men, individual people who have subsumed their desire to the highest moral imperative, and see what that looks like, right? Also, what I thought was of very, very sort of insightful point was Love 83 Forever's discussion on science, right? I thought that bit that she assessed the relationship between science and the principles of science and us and sort of our decay into decadence, I thought was very, very insightful, right? And basically what Love 83 Forever was saying was that with regard to the scientific process and the methods of inquiry whereby we go about conducting an experiment, and that experiment arrives at its particular end, so too is the human existence an experiment, right? And that experiment ends in death. And I was like, whoa, that was pretty good. So both Secular Numinous and Love 83 Forever, I really appreciate that. One more point on Love 83 Forever's point that I thought was very, very good was what we'll see, what I'm going to call an oppositional force in today's lecture. Granted, this lecture is going to be about 2 hours long, right? So this is the first, most of the lecture series, I try to get in 2 hour ranges, so this is the first few minutes of a 2 hour lecture. But I'll talk about this oppositional force that Nietzsche has, and it's my concept. But I was able to see it in the text, and I was able to come about, and I'm not joking, this is true, I was able to come about an understanding of, or an interpretation, because I've read this text a couple of times, but a new twist on it, because if you combine, and I want to wrap this up and get into the lecture, but if you combine secular numinous' account of sort of the dilemma of shared equality, power for all, egalitarianism, that concept, and you can immediately see how that sort of maps on his anti-Christian, anti-religious, anti-dogmatic concept. Then you combine that with Love 83 Forever's notion that science is a process that ends in the experiment, in validation and reproducibility. Similarly, human life is a process. Then the question becomes, what is the role of, for me, what is the role of human life? What is that process? What are we supposed to be doing? And I think that's exactly what Nietzsche wants us to think about. So the fact that we're able to talk on this level now, I think is very, very important, because the point is, what is it that Nietzsche specifically wants us to do? We have an idea, and a very clear idea of what he doesn't want us to do. Stop conforming to the demands of the moral imperative. But what is it that he wants us to do? What is that oppositional force? What is that drive? What's the process of human life to look like? And in this lecture, we begin an assessment of that. So, again, I want to thank Secular Numinous. I want to thank Love 83 Forever for their contributions. That was great. And last thing before I jump into the lecture, the reason why it's important that you guys participate, if you want, I'm not saying that you have to, I would have done a lecture myself, luckily I didn't have to do it, but the reason why it's important that you participate is that there's a whole nother world, there's a whole nother super deep level of education, and it's education in preparation for presentation. When you're reading something to just sort of edify your own satisfaction or curiosity, then you read it, even on a deep level, you read it sort of surface. When you're reading something so that you present the information so that the information is understood by individuals who either aren't interested in reading this or who want to learn different modes of assessing the text, then you have to read it very, very carefully. And I think what happened for both Secular Numinous and Love 83 Forever was that they were able to take their thoughts to a much deeper level, right? And because they had to present the information, their thoughts had to be more profound in a sense. And the more that they do this, like anything, it's like throwing a free throw. You throw a free throw 25,000 times, you're eventually going to start making a lot of shots. The more you train yourself in the act of presenting information, the more you train yourself to analyze text for presentation, is the better you'll get at presentation. So the next call won't be probably for maybe 2 weeks or so. I'm not really sure. But the next call that I have, it'll be, I encourage all of you to participate. So with that, I found my trusty marker. I have my Friedrich Nietzsche's Will to Power. I got the notes, last name, on the notes. I'm going to put the notes up before the lecture to give you time to go and take the notes and read through the sections. The sections are broken down into very small notes, so you can read 7-8 notes, no problem. And then use the notes prior to the lecture, prior to you watching this, to make sense of not only what Nietzsche said, right? Because it's important that you know what Nietzsche said, but as I said in my What is Philosophy video, I want you to see what I do, right? I want you to see how I prepare, right? I'm not holding anything back. There's no tricks, there's no gimmicks. I'm showing you how to do philosophy, right? This is the process. So think also about, okay, well, this is how Dr. Campbell put the lecture together, right? Oh, he saw that in Nietzsche, and you might agree with me or you might not agree with me, but I see what he's doing. He's connecting these points, blah, 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 blah. So hopefully this works. That's the whole point for me doing that. I'm going to stop my rant and begin the lecture. So the notes begin, and let me take all this stuff out of my pocket. The notes officially begin with 6.1 of the notes. It starts on page 17. 6.0 were both contributions from Secular Numinous and contributions from Love 83 Forever. So I have Love 83 Forever's actual notes that she typed up embedded within the actual PDF. It will grow. I didn't initially think that the PDF would have anybody else's stuff, but and it says right there at the top, end of Love 83 Forever's notes. So, like I said, man, I want this to be a global process. I want this to be everybody's participation, because I think when it's all said and done, this would be a huge contribution to have, critical assessment of a pretty dense text, right?